You're tuned into Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell community for over 130 years. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank.
WellPoint. Unicare is now WellPoint. New name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point.
Boston North Company, offering a wide variety of business solutions to help restaurant and retail clients save money. Boston North. Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to families in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's Mahoney Oil. Francis E. Preventia Insurance. For auto, home, business, and life, trust the agency Greater Lowell has counted on for more than 40 years. Francis E. Preventia Insurance. GoPuff. A grocery store right at your fingertips. Use the code Lowell20 to receive $20 off your first order of $21, plus free delivery. Download the GoPuff app or visit gopuff.com today. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Tsongas Center in Lowell. Get your tickets today by visiting masspirates.football.com. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
Hi, and welcome to Chamber Chat. I'm Danielle McFadden, President of the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, and we are coming to you from the WellPoint Studios. Unicare is now WellPoint. New name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. I'm so excited to have my guests on with me today. I have the wonderful ladies from Hemacare Donor Center here. We have Taylor Everett, who is the Donor Recruitment Coordinator, and Jennifer Carnevale, the Senior Site Operations Manager.
Good morning.
Hi.
I'm so happy to have you both.
Good to be here.
We had a great conversation off air, so I'm excited to bring it on air so everybody can hear about what you do. So can we start with that? Who are you?
So we are a research blood donor center. We recruit normal, healthy donors and some disease state donors to come in and spend some time with us and donate blood products, usually white blood cells, that go towards research. And because it is for research, it is a compensated program, and we are just looking to make contacts and grow our donor base and help Tay get the word out.
Yeah, pretty much everything that she said. So we are located on Suffolk Street in the Wanawasset Mills, and we take donations for healthy donors between the ages of 18 through 75, regular healthy donors, as well as she said, disease state. Mm-hmm. We do have a disease state program that just started last year.
I believe, the end of last year.
At the end of last year, so we take other donors that aren't so healthy, then have them come in for pre-screening and going through eligibility to check, if they're eligible for our program.
So why should people donate? Because I'm sure as people are listening, they're thinking, why should we make this donation?
Well, first, I'll say not really more so for the research side, but more so because we're helping out a cause, helping out a bigger difference. It's bigger than just donating blood, right? Because we're trying to, create kind of more so, I don't know how you would describe it.
We have long-term goals. It's
Exactly.
to help support research, thinking ahead, right?
Yeah.
All of certain immune-mediated disorders, whether it's MS or diabetes, certain cancers, the cells that we collect go towards eventually finding cures for these diseases. Hopefully, that's the goal, right?
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. And so is that kind of what the difference between donating blood for research versus a blood bank?
Yeah, definitely. And we collect white cells. So we have researchers that contact us to find people that would accommodate their research. And we compensate our donors for their time and effort. I think that's kind of what sets us apart from a lot of other places where people aren't really compensated for their time and effort. It's kind of more so as, whether you choose to want to do it or not.
Yeah.
Which everything is
Yeah, it's
you know,
because
by
it's
choice.
it is absolutely, and it's because there's a time commitment, right? It's generally a
duration.
3 to 4 hour duration that people come and spend time with us, and we want to recognize that they're taking time out of their day to come and hopefully help us further some of these researches.
So you mentioned it's 3 or 4 hours. Can you walk me through the process if I want to make a donation? Like, what is that, from screening through donating?
So first, I'll be your point of contact.
That already.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, so I would be your point of contact. Generally, obviously, 100% of the donors, I contact them from the beginning to end. So first, we start off by having you come in for a pre-screen, where the nurses will assess your veins, make sure you have good vein access on both arms. Go through the donor health screening questions. It's about 50 questions just to go over your health history, and more so just we test for infectious diseases when we take a sample at the end. So the process would be you come in, you'll sign in and make sure you have a valid photo ID when you come on site, or a passport. Then we have the nurse assess your veins, and then they'll tell you either whether you're eligible right then and there, or then you go to the next process would be the screening questions. It's about 50 questions on the computer. Once that's done, then you get a sample taken. Then the sample is run back into the lab, which then we wait for the lab to come back with the sample, let you know what your hematocrit and hemoglobin is.
That's all there.
All done within the hour.
That's impressive.
It's all done within the hour. So I always let people know that you're going to be there within an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, depending upon if it's slower for you to answer the questions. If you have more questions and you want the nurse to answer your questions.
Yep.
About whether you have questions about compensation, the duration, things of that sort. So the process is very easy. It's just you can either sign up online through our Hemacare website, or you can just give me a call, or I'll reach out to you, whatever works.
What are the eligibility requirements for that?
So we have a certain number that your hemoglobin and hematocrit needs to fall at in order to be eligible for the program. Obviously, if you don't have good vein access on both arms, if you have good vein access on one, we could use you for whole blood.
Okay.
But if you have, which we take whole blood samples and whole blood bags, but we also do the white blood cell collection, which you would have to have good arm access on both. So that's kind of what the eligibility is at, as well as infectious diseases. So because we take a sample, to make sure that when you come in, it's regular, fresh, healthy blood that we're receiving for the researchers to accommodate them.
Absolutely.
And importantly, we want to make sure that people are healthy, right? Because if they're not feeling well, or their labs aren't acceptable, it might defer them for a period of time, or maybe they're ineligible for the program, because ultimately, we recognize this is not a hospital setting where we want to make sure everyone's labs are good, everyone is healthy and comfortable. To make sure everything goes well, right? We don't want to take too much, which we never would. So the process is we actually have a machine that the reason it's a 2-arm procedure is the blood comes out, it goes into the machine, we spin it, and then we just scoop out some of the white cells, and we give the vast majority of the red cells and plasma back. Yeah, so it's unlike donating a whole blood unit where it just all goes into a bag and you get nothing back. We actually do, the nurses watch it's called the Spectra Optia apheresis machine. And it's very unique because when you spin blood, it separates into different layers, and we've got it calibrated to just take a little bit of the white blood cells, some of the plasma, some of the red cells, and then the donor gets the rest of it back. Which allows them to donate more frequently, provided everything, looks well on their CBCs. We run CBCs on them. So
how often can somebody donate?
If they are eligible within that criteria range, they get a sample every single time they come in for an appointment. Just to make sure that they're at the level where they're supposed to be at before we take a collection. Of course, we want them to be safe.
Right.
So if you are eligible, every 14 days.
Wow.
So at least twice a month.
Yeah.
And if we have certain donors that come every 3 months, every 4 weeks, because, they just are a unicorn. So more so if you're healthy, every 14 days, I usually have the same people kind of rotate people out and circulate new people in, but for the most part, 14 days.
What are some tips for giving a healthy donation?
Definitely sleep.
Okay.
Definitely sleep. Hydrating prior to coming in. I would say at least a day or two prior to collection, eating iron-rich foods. And I did give you a little paper bag
Yes.
down there. So on the back, I always give these to our
the
new
big paper?
pre-screens. Yep.
Yep.
And on the back, it's like
Oh,
foods,
great.
cooking with a cast iron skillet, things like
Wow.
that.
It's
There's
amazing
And
what a cast
dark
iron
chocolate.
skillet and
Yeah.
of course, right?
Like how that hot, like
Yeah,
popped
popped up right there.
But it's funny if people don't realize that if they like to cook with a cast iron skillet,
Yeah.
if you know that you tend to be iron deficient, if you saute your vegetables or cook stuff in it
Yeah.
will help your iron level. Which is something I didn't realize until
I didn't know that either.
I learned that when I started
yeah.
working here.
So I was like,
Interesting.
oh, maybe because my husband cooks with a cast iron
Yeah.
skillet a lot, and I'm like, maybe that's why my iron's always so good.
Yeah. He's
But-
pumping some iron.
Yeah.
Right, steaks,
Just by
So,
cooking
but it's like one
Yeah.
of those little tips that we give donors,
Yeah, that's great.
and anyone who might know that they tend to run iron deficient.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
good to know. And I like the list of calcium-rich foods
Yep.
as well.
And I give those out to people that come in for pre-screening or donors that come in and say
Yep.
they ended up failing or being below what the hematocrit level is.
Yep.
I'll give it to them and like say, hey, next time before you come in for your next donation, why don't you try this out and see if it
Yeah.
works for you. And prior to them coming in, I'll text them like, hey, you have an appointment tomorrow. Make sure that you don't eat a 4 for $4 at Wendy's before you come in, and you don't drink caffeine. Just things that
Yeah.
some people like they don't know. They're like, I'll drink 2 cups of coffee this morning. Well, we'll see what your level.
So that would be me. So I'm glad you
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah, before donation, the nurses and like the staff just always just recommend not to drink caffeine prior to
Yep.
collection because it does affect the collection.
Yep.
After that, go ahead. I mean, you've been there for
Go
3
through
hours.
the
You
day.
probably
I
need
am
it.
totally guilty of drinking coffee instead of water. So most
Yes.
people in the morning, we recommend, if you drink your coffee, it can dehydrate you.
Yep.
So it's like maybe you should do your water instead.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
try to force myself to drink water before
I know, I
drinking
think
coffee
we
in the
all
morning.
do.
It's hard. It's
It's
hard
hard.
when you're not used
Some
to it.
days it's
Yeah.
harder than others.
But definitely before any of our donors come in, whether it's a pre-screen and I'm doing like the screening over the phone prior
Yep.
to them coming in, I do let them know like, hey, try to eat iron-rich foods, get plenty of rest, no strenuous working out. Obviously, the night before donation, don't drink alcohol,
Yeah.
and no caffeine. That's
Yeah.
all. I mean,
Yeah, it's not.
it
I
doesn't
mean,
seem like a lot.
it's
but
not a
some
hard
people-
ask,
some
but no,
people-
but it's more so just the education piece of it, knowing that these are the steps that you
And
should take.
donors, tend to feel better on the machine if they listen
Yeah.
to Tay. Like if they're
Yeah.
a little dehydrated, it's not that they maybe can't donate, but maybe their veins aren't as puffy, so they might be a harder stick,
Yeah.
or maybe just the process of donation, maybe they feel more tired.
Yeah.
Some people can get nauseous.
Yeah.
But if they come in and they've eaten a decent meal and they're hydrated and they're well rested, overall they
Yeah.
just do better on the Optia.
Yeah, and you want them
Yeah.
to have a good
We
experience.
do want
Yeah.
them to have
Yeah.
a good
Oh yeah,
experience.
and the donors like we also do provide like donor snacks and things like that. So when you come in, I usually will ask like, hey, did you eat this morning? I have a Pop-Tart if you want one,
Yeah.
or something like oatmeal, like whatever they need, we provide for them basically in order to fulfill the collection.
Yeah, that's great.
And we always want our donors to come back. So most of the time we usually get great feedback from our donors.
Yeah.
Because like they love how inviting we are. They love how comfortable they feel because you're there for like at least 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Not even depending what time you get on the machine. You have to go through the whole like basically screening process of going through the questions. You have to speak with the
Yeah.
nurse and you have to get your vitals taken, your weight. So they want to be in a place where they feel comfortable. So
Absolutely. Do you go through the screening process every time? I know that they take a
Yes.
donation, but like you fill out the
you
questionnaire.
fill out the questions
Yeah.
every single time you come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Because sometimes people forget that they traveled somewhere that
Yeah,
might,
sure.
certain locations, if you travel, we have to defer you for
A year.
Wow.
like certain amounts of times, and it varies. So we go through those questions every single time. But our goal is for the donor to have the best experience possible, right? We
Yeah.
appreciate them coming in and spending time with us and letting us, take some of their blood. So Taylor dotes on them when they're on the machines. Our nursing staff, everyone who walks by, if the donor needs anything, we have warm blankets,
Yeah.
pillows.
Pillows,
We try to make it as spa-like as we
Yeah.
can, right?
You had me at
You
warm
can-
blanket.
yeah.
I mean,
You
I'm like, I go home to 3 kids, so I'm like, this actually sounds like
Right.
a
Well,
vacation.
I mean, honestly, a lot of our donors that do have children that come
Yeah.
in for collection, they said this is the most peaceful. Like this is the most peaceful
You
I've
are
been.
guaranteed a couple hours of peace and quiet.
Yeah.
You can put up, if you like audiobooks, bring your headphones.
Laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get you hooked
Oh,
up.
wow.
You can
So
We
you
have
can like you can like
Wi-Fi.
answer emails and
Yeah,
stuff?
people
can.
sometimes people do their school, like a lot of
Yeah.
the college kids do their schoolwork
Yeah.
on their laptops or their iPads. Some donors come in and they take their meetings from there, put
Yeah.
their headphones in. It's not a loud facility for the most part. It should be relaxing
Yeah.
to you. Some of our donors sleep, but for the most part, like
We do have a
everybody's
couple.
relaxed.
We
Yeah.
do have a
Sounds
couple
great.
donors that look forward to coming in because
Just to
it's like,
sleep.
oh, I arranged for a sitter. Like usually
Yeah.
they're home with the kids, or they're like, I came here just to get away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
yeah.
Well, and as you were talking, you said you want people to feel comfortable. Like I was
Yeah.
thinking, you're both such warm people. So
Thank you.
yeah,
Hi.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you have obviously recurring donors.
Yes.
Is there a referral program if
Yes.
somebody refers a friend or
Yes.
family?
So we do have a referral program. We have a $50 referral program. That when we
Wow.
have somebody come in, they go through the pre-screening process,
Yep.
which would be the hour appointment where you go through the questions, get your vein assessed, and then you get a sample taken, and then we have you come back. For when we have you come in and you go through it and have a successful collection, then we compensate them $50 for their time and effort for coming in.
Wow.
So like if one of our reliable donors refers like about 10 people and they all come in and have a successful collection, that person gets compensated $50 for each person that has a
Wow.
successful.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Because word of mouth
Yes,
is one of the
can't beat it.
best ways to, get new donors in,
Yeah.
because you hear, hey,
Yeah.
my friend had a really good experience. They treat you really well. I get away for a couple hours. I can
Yeah.
take a nap.
Yeah. Sleep.
And and it sounds great, and they're going to give me a little money on the side
Yeah.
for the time that it took me to come in.
Yeah.
So,
Right. And I think that it more recently it did sort of like, since we have a lot more college students that are coming in, that
Yep.
word of mouth and having the $50 referral program is what kind of like an incentive, right? Like
Absolutely.
it's kind of like, hey, I need the extra $50. I'm already getting compensated $50 for coming in. Why
Yeah.
not? And once they come in and have a successful collection, which most of the time they do, you can refer as many people as you like.
That's
18
amazing.
through 75. It could be a family member, a cousin, an uncle, a teacher,
A professor, yeah.
whoever.
Yes.
anyone with
Whoever,
a
as long as they're
flexible
healthy.
schedule.
We got
Yeah.
a flexible schedule.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like more so what we're looking for.
But in
So-
terms of a flexible schedule too, for some people, if you're being compensated, it might be worth taking the day.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Some
You
people
take a
do.
day, you spend your
yes.
half day at
Some of our
Hemacare, and
donors
then
actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be like, hey, I took the day off of work. Do you have a collection on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Well, let me find a researcher for you. And
Yeah.
then I'll match them up and I'll
Great.
have them come in.
wow, it's amazing.
One thing too, what we're really hoping and working to grow, we love our normal healthy program, right?
Yeah.
Because it really is our most common program, right? We want to get the word out there that under our medical director, Dr. Stoddard, who
Yeah.
is on site in Lowell, we are working on a disease state program, because more and more they are finding that white cells from people who have certain disorders like MS, celiac, diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Actually, I think they're looking for 1 and 2,
1 and 2.
lupus. These disorders are noted, they're immune mediated disorders is the classification they're in. And
Yeah.
if you use white cells from people with these disorders, it can go into research to hopefully cure these disorders.
Yeah.
So that's
Wow.
what I am most excited about.
Yeah.
We have gotten it off the ground. We're starting to grow it. It's separate than the normal healthy program, and we can certainly provide more information if people are interested.
Yeah.
We have a disease state coordinator, and everything goes through Dr. Stoddard and Sherry, who's our disease state coordinator.
Yep.
And we're looking to really grow that program.
Good.
So if anyone knows anyone who has a potential immune mediated disorder that's interested, I encourage them to reach out for more information.
Yes.
Excellent. That's great.
And then I have a pamphlet here as well. It would be this one.
Okay.
And it's for our mobilization program.
Yeah.
So once they come in and they have their first successful collection, as long as everything went great, they don't have any issues or anything. Most of the time, I'll just go behind and just look and just make sure that they're eligible to be a part of that program, and then explain like what exactly it is in detail. Talk about the compensation portion of it.
yeah.
And what are the requirements. So
Excellent.
usually once the person or the donor has come in and had their first successful collection, then that's when I can kind of go in and kind of plant the seed
That's great.
of what we do.
Yeah, and I mean, you generously compensate people for their time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the different programs, we recognize that, you know, it takes a lot to come in and volunteer to do these sorts of things, right? We want to, everyone's time is valuable, right? Everyone has things to do, whether you have kids or a Google Calendar that makes you run in 9 different directions, right? People's time is valuable, and we recognize that.
Yep.
So, like Tay was saying with the mobilization program, there's a lot more time invested
Into that, yeah.
So, you know, basically, what the researchers are generally looking for are stem cells out of the white blood cells that we provide. That's generally what they're looking for. So, anything you've ever heard about stem cell research and all the wonderful things that can stem from that, this is where the starting materials come from, right? So with our mobilization program, we have people who will volunteer to take certain medications under the watchful eye of Dr. Stoddard that basically stimulates your white blood cells, right? It increases the count and those stem cells. So by then stimulating the white blood cells of healthy donors and then taking a product, that product is more rich in those stem cells that are really the bread and butter of the cell and gene therapy research that we're trying to support. But because they're volunteering to come in, work with Dr. Stoddard, take injections, and come in and be apheresed, the compensation for that is obviously more because there's more time.
Right.
So,
and when explaining it to them, like in that way, it kind of makes them feel more secure and more comfortable. Yes. And then when I kind of go on the back end and like besides giving them, you know, the consent forms, explaining any questions that they may have for any of the nurses, I'll go in and I'll kind of make them feel more comfortable about it and ask them like, well, how did you feel once you had your first donation? And then how would you feel about being part of our mobilization program? Which then I would explain to them about the time. The fact that they would have to come in multiple times during a weekend or a week, which would be like 5 days. And then we have an actual collection, whether it's 1 or 2 days for the collection. And then we also provide Ubers when being part of our mobilization program. Obviously because they're, you know, giving us their time. So we're going to compensate them in some type of way rather than, you know, not at all, like making them walk or having them drive their own car.
You're making it convenient.
Because you never
for
know.
them.
You never really truly know either when somebody comes in for a collection like that, just because of the medication that they are given. You don't know if they're going to be tired, you know, you know, those type of things. So we provide Uber. We also provide food for them, like something lunch, breakfast, snacks, and then of course the compensation piece. So it ranges between like 900 and 1,200 for the collection altogether.
That's incredible.
Yep. So all you gotta do is come in for one collection, really, to be eligible. As long as you're healthy and you have a good count, we have you go through a physical exam. With Dr. Stoddard, and then once it gets approved, we have you come back, and then we set it up with a researcher once they know what exact like criteria we need.
Yeah, very well explained. That's exactly what's happening.
It's like the easiest way to explain it, because if I explain it like the textbooks way, we're going over there.
Well, that just is overwhelming for folks.
If you just break it down and simplify it in the easiest way to make somebody feel comfortable about it and be accurate in what you're speaking on, then I feel like our donors, we've gotten a few mobilizations so far.
That's
so
great. It's incredible that this is happening in Lowell.
Yes.
It's exciting. It's
That's
really
the best part.
Yes.
It's just about getting the new donors.
It is. It's just about, you know, continuing to kind of try to add. The site opened 5 years ago, almost May of 2019. So we're almost at 5 years. And then, you know, COVID hit and there were some hiccups, right, with COVID and closures and, you know, people were sick, but we're really starting to hit our stride. Like we're really starting to get busier. We're really looking on growing that donor pool. We have a great group in Lowell. Dr. Stoddard is amazing to work with and for. And, you know, ultimately we care about the donors first. And then, we want to get products, but we want to make sure people are comfortable and well-informed and, you know, excited about what we do because we're excited about what we do.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah. I love it. I love interacting with the donors, like making that they feel comfortable when they come to our facility. And most of the time they're like, I love you, girl. I'm like, I love you too. Come back. Come back. But it's just great. Like more so like, we're just trying to build our donor pool more so. So we are looking for, and we are recruiting new donors.
Okay.
So I'll continue to come, and I'll try
Yeah.
to see maybe next time if we can actually bring a donor with us.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And kind of just go over like what it is that we do and how they feel once they give a donation.
Excellent. And I had just one more question. If,
Yeah.
if somebody's considered healthy, but they are on medication, like a medication or two, can they still donate blood?
They can. So when I match a donor with a researcher, I just
Yeah.
make sure the criteria, just if it asks for no medication, I make sure I choose a donor that doesn't
Yes.
take a medication. But if
Yep.
we do most of our donors are on medications.
Yeah.
Everybody's on a medication nowadays. You never know.
Yeah.
Whether it's for sleep, headache,
yeah.
you know, you never know. Whether somebody even takes Advil every day affects a collection.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
So more or less, it's just what the criteria is and what they're looking for.
Yep.
And I'll kind of go and match the donor to the
Awesome.
best of my ability. So yes, people can still donate if they're on a medication, as long as it's not a part of like the list that we have that
Yep.
defers
Yeah.
them from being able to do so.
But
So
most
most of the time,
common meds that people would be on is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it like Tay said, it's very rare to find someone who's not on anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
Eh,
it's fact
today's
of
day and
life.
age, yeah,
Is that considered a unicorn?
yeah,
Almost.
yeah, basically. Basically, some of our best donors actually are on medications,
Yeah.
and they still get recalled back
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
for collections, and they're successful. So
Great.
Yeah.
Did we cover everything?
yes,
I think so. So thank you so much for having us. It's
Oh,
really
thank
I
you.
great.
appreciate it.
You know, Tay just loves talking about our program and getting out and meeting the donors, and she's a great, you know, first contact person to
Yeah.
have, right? We all love interacting with the donors, but for Tay, it's a real passion. So, thanks for
take it
having
serious.
us. She does.
Very evident.
So,
It's great.
Yeah.
It's so important
Yeah.
for important, but also like a blessing to love what you do, right? And to
Yeah.
like believe in what you're doing. And,
Yeah.
And that's
so,
you're doing something great. So thank you
yes, let's
both.
help cure things long term.
Yes.
Yes, for
Great.
sure.
Yes. I think
So,
everybody can
Buy
get
into
behind
that.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And get compensated along the way.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem.
No. Sounds good. It sounds like a
Awesome.
spa, like I
Right?
said.
You got to come down and see.
I
our
know.
facility.
Yeah,
Yes,
let's come
definitely.
down.
Yeah.
So,
Just so at least so you can kind of get a look.
Yes,
and
I
see
would
what
love
it-
to
what
do
it
that.
would- what it's like, and try to see, kind of get a feel for what a donor would do
Yeah.
if they were to
Yeah.
come in. Whenever you're free.
Sounds good.
sounds good.
Awesome.
so
Thank you
much.
both.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And thank you all for tuning into another edition of Chamber Chat. We'll be back again soon. Thank you.